I've been on a low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Project Mayday. These are your hosts G and Bree, and today we have Heather Langston. She is from Florida, and a fun fact, she is the first person to actually reach out to us from our website, months ago, and we are very appreciative. She actually opened up the floodgates to everybody else hitting us up on the website. So Heather has a great story where she got to her wit's end in 2016. And in 2016, she actually reached out for help. And that's the first thing that we should do. And that's what we're promoting. So that's what she's here to promote, is to reach out and ask for help. And so Heather, welcome.
Thank you very much. Very glad to be here.
Absolutely. So you have an interesting story where, you're out in Florida and you're a lieutenant paramedic. And What is your P number? Do you guys have a P number out there?
P number? Paramedic number?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd have to look at my card.
It's been a long time.
Okay, well, it's up there. So let's just start off with how'd you get into being a firefighter?
I really kind of fell into it. I was working with a gentleman who was a volunteer with Volusia County Fire Services, and he said, "Hey, come up to the station, check it out." And I didn't have any career goals at that point in time. So I started volunteering at one of the county stations. And I like going out and helping people. Of course, I was a little bit of the siren junkie back then, but it was something different and something dynamic. And it really kind of caught my attention because it was not the same thing every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, you've been in the field now 25 years. And in Florida, are there specific challenges in Florida that maybe other people in the nation may not have that same experience?
I think our biggest thing is dealing, especially my area, we deal with a high transient population comes in like for race weeks and other events like bike week. So that presents some challenges just because our population in the county explodes so much. And the other thing is heat. Yeah. It is super hot, very humid in Florida, and that presents a lot of challenges.
Gotcha. So what is a lieutenant? Because on the West Coast here, as I guess San Francisco still has that position, but other people listening, what is a lieutenant?
I'm in charge of an engine company at a station. We have 3 personnel on our apparatus. The station I'm at currently actually also has a rescue. There's 2 personnel on that unit. Basically run the station and in charge of the apparatus, and then report to the battalion chief who's in charge of all 5 of our fire stations.
Gotcha. And where does the captain, do you guys have a captain position out there? Because I think what you're describing right now on the West Coast is more of a captain position.
Yes, we actually have an EMS captain, and that's on the administrative side. Gotcha. Our ranks are firefighter, engineer, lieutenant, battalion chief on our operations side. Gotcha.
Right.
And are you the only sole paramedic on your engine?
No, it depends. Sometimes we have several paramedics. Sometimes I have another medic with me. Sometimes I have 2 EMTs with me.
Gotcha. So let's back up a little bit to where you reached out to us. Why did you reach out? Where did you find us? Because you were the first one. You kind of opened up those gates. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm working with the department right now. We're trying to develop our peer support program, and I'm always looking for resources that we can use to better our program, better our education, bring education into our personnel. And I really saw you guys in a GEMS article, and I think it was linked on Facebook. And so I read about it and I started reading about you guys, and I said, this is a good resource. And that's why I reached out.
Awesome. Well, we are very happy you did. And now you're on our podcast. So you get to share all your story. So let's talk about your story. What's kind of your mental health journey? And G briefly kind of talked about it. In 2016, you reached out to EAP because you had your own struggles. Can you kind of tell us about that?
I have always had depression my entire life, and I never really sought treatment. So just dealing with that depression and then piling the job stress on top of that, I didn't have any healthy coping mechanisms. And I got to a point where I was really buckling under the stress at work. I mean, I'd be on the road to the station, and I'd come over the hill and I'd see my station and I'd start having an anxiety attack. And I would have to sit in my car and try and get myself calmed down. And I felt terrible. I couldn't make decisions. I had no confidence. And I hit a point where I was like, holy crap, I'm in bad shape and I need help. And initially, I'm stubborn. I'll admit it. Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
You and Bree have that in common. Trust me.
Initially, I was like, I'll find somebody on my own. So I went and I got on a standby list with a psychiatrist in the area. And I waited for a month and a half on standby list. And I finally, at just one day, I was like, I can't keep doing this. And I just called the number. And it was just like, it's kind of like you got to be ready to make that change before you change any bad habits. And I was like, I have to do something, because physically I felt terrible. I was always in that heightened fight or flight stage. I mean, shaken, couldn't make decisions, and trying to cope with like drinking too much. And it just, everything was like, it got to the point where I'm like, if I don't do something bad's going to happen.
Yeah. So 2016 where you were at like your ledge, kind of, so to speak. So, before that, when did you start actually noticing that I have a problem, but I'm going to mask it a little bit, and so nobody can see, and I'm going to try to kind of make it work? When was that first, when you acknowledged that, okay, I might have something?
I think I avoided for a very long time. And then kind of after a few years at Daltona, I finally was like, hey, and really working and interacting with other crews and other people and how close knit our people were. I was like, I feel a little bit off, but I'm like, I can handle it. I'll be okay. And that doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, being a woman in the fire service, I mean, out here, I know this, we know the struggle as far as women go. Out there, is it more accepting, or did you have to, bust your hump to get where you are? I mean, I'm sure you did, absolutely, but like the side struggles that nobody knows about.
There have been some struggles. I got very fortunate when I got hired at Daltona, because they're very family oriented, and once you get in there and once you prove that, hey, I'm here, I'm serious about this, they're very welcoming. But outside of that, I had some struggles.
Gotcha. Where are you located as far as Daltona goes? Because I thought it was Daytona when Bree told me. I was like, Daytona, I know where Daytona is.
Wrong state.
So where
Daltona is literally pretty much about halfway between Daytona Beach and Orlando.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a touristy spot? What's Daytona Daltona about?
It's a residential community. It's actually the largest city in Volusia County. But a lot of people who work in Orlando live in Daltona.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So when you kind of realized and you called EAP, what happened? When you called them, obviously you said you kind of had to be ready, and you were kind of at the end where you realized this is not working for me. So can you tell us if it was effective for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I called EAP and I had no idea. And that was the hardest thing, was sitting on there waiting for someone to pick up and going, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. Because there's a lot of fear that goes through your head that they're going to take me off the truck. They're going to tell me I'm crazy. I'm going to lose my career just because you don't know. But I got on with our EAP, and the woman I spoke to was very nice, very supportive. They asked some questions to get basically an idea what was going on. And I would say within a half hour, they emailed me a list of probably 50 providers in my immediate area. And it was a list of what their training was, what their experience was. And so I had to pick one. So I scrolled through the list. I'm like, this one looks good. And I reached out and made contact. And with our EAP, you get free visits. So basically, you can see if you jive with the therapist, and if that doesn't work, they'll set you. You can set up with somebody else. So I reached out. I got established with a therapist, and that was a little weird But the EAP part of it, they got me set up, and it was pretty simple. And I mean, I know I've heard some other people didn't have quite as easy an experience, but for the most part, it was like, okay, here's an issue, and let's get you some information and get you some help.
Yeah. What struck me was when you said, when you were waiting for them to pick up the phone, when you had initially made that call, and then you're waiting that little, whatever, 10 seconds or, whenever they picked up. Describe that feeling. You just said that you were a little nervous. You were, something was going on. So let's stay in that little feeling, that 10-second, 15-second feeling. What was that feeling?
Holy shit, if I can swear on here. It was like, holy crap. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of what is going to happen. And I think there was a fear also that they would connect me with someone who's going to say, yeah, you know what, you really are freaking crazy,
So it sounds like it was a lot of what other people might think.
Yeah.
Growing up, was that a prevalent kind of program that you were dealing with?
I'm sorry?
Oh, growing up in where you grew up, Florida and whatnot, was that a prevalent program that you were always dealing with? What would other people
face?
Oh, actually, I grew up in Pittsburgh, just outside of Pittsburgh. But you didn't talk about mental health. That was you don't talk about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, whisper. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, and I think that was part of the natural inclination, my natural inclination to try and hide it. And then there's, I have a lot of self-confidence issues that came from experience I had in my childhood. So I was very much on that. Don't make any noise. Stay under the, stay in the closet under the stairs and pretend you don't exist. And that was another thing because I didn't think I deserved help. I didn't think I was worth it. I didn't want to trouble anybody. So that was a big barrier to seeking help. That and that stigma that's attached to it.
That's pretty incredible. You said you have confidence issue when you're a female of 25 years in the fire department, and now you're kind of the boss. So it's very interesting because did you think people knew that you had confidence issues?
Yes, I think they do.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'm great, and then sometimes I'm have a hard time making decisions, or I doubt myself, or and I'm not going to be ignorant enough to say that nobody knows that there's an issue.
Well, and here's the other thing. So 25 years in the fire service, and you said you reached out to Project Mayday to implement some trainings and resources within your own department. What do you see changing at your department? Do you think the culture is changing of let's start the conversation?
We're working on it. We're very fortunate because my administration has buy-in. We're working together to try and create that peer support program. Several of us have gone to UCF Restores, which is through University of Central Florida, and done what's called UCF, the REACT training, and it's peer support. So it's learning to recognize signs that somebody's in trouble, and it's really so we have people embedded in the department who can see that, hey, something's going on, maybe have a conversation with somebody, recognize those warning signs when we need to get somebody more help. My own experience, I bring a lot. I'm attending American College of Healthcare Sciences right now, and I'm working on my bachelor's in integrative health sciences and focusing on mental wellness and overall holistic wellness. And I'm trying to bring that in, stress management and that kind of education, so that we're bringing all that, trying to bring that all to our people. It's a slow process, but we're working on it. And like I said, we're fortunate because we have buy-in.
No.
We have buy-in from the top, and if you don't have that, you can't really get going at all.
No. And buy into the holistic process. I mean, when you said that, I'm like, what? Because that's not really prevalent out here. Maybe it is out there. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from holistic therapy?
And when I say the school, my school is very science-based. I started out, I got my associate's degree in complementary alternative medicine with a focus on herbalism. And then as I've been progressing through my degree program, I've been taking classes on like motivational interviewing to learn how to communicate with people. Stress. I had a whole semester of stress management. And so I'm not really throwing like, here's some herbs. Although, people are like, hey, I have a headache. I'm like, I have a tea for that.
That's awesome.
But it's when you look at how it's recommended for you to deal with stress, when we're talking about mindfulness, and you're talking about using exercise, and you're talking about nutrition, that is in that holistic realm. And that's the science proven, that's in peer-reviewed studies, that's in all the trainings we're going to. And I really think that it's maybe not listed, labeled as holistic, but it really actually is.
Yeah, I really love that myself. I was nutrition and fitness minor. And it's really interesting because when you talk about the well-being of basically anybody, you look at everything and every subcategory, spiritually, health-wise, just mental wellness is not talked about, in my experience, as a first responder. It's make sure you work out, make sure you don't drink too much caffeine, which we all know is a joke, as I'm drinking an energy drink. Make sure you get enough sleep. Your lifestyle change, when we're talking about a first responder, it's already hard. So you said you had this underlying depression anyway. Now you add on you're a first responder. So now you're seeing things, you're not sleeping well, all these things start compiling. But it's interesting because you're right. Unless you have leadership, administration, really encouraging this mental wellness dialogue, that's where we're going to see people who actually take a stand like you did, recognizing, okay, this goes beyond my ability to mask it. This is affecting me wanting to come to work. So now we're looking at decreased, career times. And it's interesting to me that leadership and administration aren't already on board all the way across, because we're talking about more quality, career longevity, and you're in 25 years. So to lose you because of the anxiety that's impacted from the career on top of all your stuff anyway, they would lose a lieutenant paramedic. That would be damaging. So in your opinion right now, with your department exploring options and doing this peer support program, have you noticed any kind of shift in any of your crew?
I think so, but I think it's going to be a change that isn't really super noticed. I like to send out articles, just health and wellness related, stress management, just little links in that. And I was very frustrated because I was like, nobody's reading any of my emails, nobody cares about this. And then I spoke to one of my chiefs, and he's like, you have no idea how many people you've helped and you don't even see that. Because the people who need this, they're probably going to read that article and very quietly maybe deal with it. I have seen there are people who trust, certain individuals and people are talking a little bit more. Or people will call and ask, hey, can you send me that link to that article? So it's a very subtle change, but it's there. And I have faith that change is there. Because even I'm very open about talking about it now, because I have tools I can compensate, and I want to share my story because, one, it gives me control over myself and my anxiety and my stress and
That's
my
right.
depression. But also me talking about it, if somebody hears me talk about it and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not all by myself, then I've helped them.
Yeah. It's interesting you say, the stigma, and you throw out these keywords that we've been throwing out since we've started this. And it's kind of eye-opening that it happens 3 hours ahead of time for us being in California. In Florida, you guys are dealing with the same thing, like the stigma, the, shut up and do your job. It's very prevalent throughout the nation. And
leave it in the parking lot.
Exactly. There's another one. Leave it in the parking lot for sure. And so when you see someone part of your crew come in with that kind of attitude, do you do something different with them? Do you sit them down in your office and like, hey man, like this is what I'm about. You have to adapt. Like we have to adapt as a crew to have you on board with it's okay to talk about what you're feeling.
I try to set the example, and I'm by no means am I, I'm not queen bee loose ended. But I try and set that example and give people the freedom to talk. Mm-hmm. And I can tell them, hey, it's okay to talk about your feelings. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
But, I think if I open that door and I talk about it and I'm accepting when other people talk about it, gradually there's a trust that builds up there. And that's really what I aim for, just support and trust, and, let people know, hey, you know what, I'm a resource. I'm here. I don't badger people. It's just, I'm here, doors open.
I really love that. I love that you reached out to us, because this is what we've been talking about the whole time, is we have to start the conversation. And if this one podcast connects to somebody to make them pause or call the EAP number or whatever, then it was worth it. I mean, that's really what we're about. We're not all here to fix each other. We're here to recognize that we're all human beings and everyone has stuff. And when you're a first responder, you get more stuff on top of your stuff. And so to process that, it can be very painful, because we do have this layer, this stigma that, you're a firefighter, or you're a police officer, or you're a paramedic, or EMT. We have this image. And so we think if we don't address it, then it's not there, right? Like you said, hiding underneath, the staircase kind of thing. Like, if I don't talk about it, it's not real. But when you come out and you're really brave about it, and you're like, hey, I had underlying depression, and then I've been in the field 25 years, and then this happened to me. I think it's really, really powerful. This is your story to share it. And I think that's really what Project Mayday is about. As this kind of live research is, let's identify things that are working for people, and EAP worked for you. So then it's like, why did that work for you? And I think the availability, even that 15-second anxiety, that was building. But I love that you said that, because you're saying you've created this trust within your department that you're very open about your personal struggles, and that's rare. So we want to make that commonplace.
Absolutely. So let's turn it a little personal here into your personal life. Okay. When you started out, in Pittsburgh and whatnot, was there any childhood trauma? Was there, what was your childhood like? And then come into, the relationships that you have now, kids or, whatever you got now. Talk about that a little bit.
I was an only child. I grew up in not the most supportive household. I was unexpected, and that it was not necessarily pleasant childhood. And I don't want to speak ill, but both of my parents are deceased, but it just, it wasn't it set the tone for problems that I have later in life. I have relationship trust issues. I'm currently single. But I have a lot of trust issues, and I only recently have started even trying to, use tools to try and get past that. And eventually I will. We'll be okay. I have, my best friend who I can confide in. I have 6 ferrets.
Awesome.
So,
wow. 6 ferrets?
Awesome. 6, yeah.
Shotgun names. Shotgun names.
Yeah, what are their names? Go.
Okay, I've got Logan, Loki, Mario, Luigi, Jess, and Mercy.
Okay. Wow.
I love the Mario and Luigi. That's awesome.
Mario was a rescue, and that was already his name. And I just recently got Luigi, and I'm like, they look similar color patterns. So I'm like, Mario, Luigi. That happened.
That's awesome.
So you have your support system. So you have your pets, you have your best friend, you have the support system. It's very interesting to me that you reached out to us because you said you wanted to build trust, people to trust you, to come to you, and you said you have trust issues.
I know. Part of my biggest thing is I try to give really good advice. I have advice. I am the worst person to follow my own advice. I'm horrible at it.
You did call EAP.
Yeah, I did call.
You are a living example.
That's awesome. So, fast forward to today. Mm-hmm. Do you think you'd be at where you're at right now if it wasn't for EAP? or, you know, because I tried EAP and it wasn't something that I took, you know, fond of or whatnot. It was it was like 54-year-old female sitting behind a desk, and she knew nothing that I had went through as a child or you know, adolescent to teenage to, you know, being a fireman. So I didn't take too kindly of it. So, you know, did it actually work for you as far as if you would not be the person that you are today?
It gave me a lot of tools. My therapist gave me a lot of tools, and she opened the door for me to build that healthy coping mechanism toolbox. I've learned to recognize a lot of my like triggers, and, you know, recognize, hey, I have a depression coming on, so I can adapt and deal with it. And I learned to accept that, you know what, it's part of who I am. You know, I'm going to have good days, I'm going to have bad days, and that's okay. It got me to a point, but I'm not where I need to be yet. She really opened the door. She gave me a lot of help, and I wouldn't have ever contacted you guys. I wouldn't be reaching out doing what I'm doing with my department without her support. But, you know, I'm slowly coming to bear with, okay, you know, you've taken several steps, and now we need to finish climbing the staircase and really crack into some of the other issues that I have going on.
Yeah, I love that. You know, something that I just noticed from your story and talking about Heather's story is she got a list that she got to pick from, and you didn't. You were given someone, this is our contracted person, this is it. So I think too, just building that connection, and that's something that we've talked about with other programs too, and what works is vetting these therapists or counselors who specifically understand the culture. You know, it's not just our childhood. It's also this culture that's very, very, it can be toxic, right? We talked to Professor B about toxic masculinity, where you have to be a superhero and not feel. And so I think having a therapist you connect to, or just really having a support system like your best friend, is key for connection and really trying to be the best person you can be, which is the ultimate goal. We protect everybody and we do everything as a first responder, but then who protects us, right? We have to make that first call.
Absolutely. So, Heather, if you had something to say, you know, not just to Florida firefighters and, you know, the East Coast, something that resonates nationwide, because, you know, we're on gyms and we're on, you know, our YouTube channel has gotten to the masses now. What message do you have, you know, out in Florida, a little city that I didn't hear about, but what do you have that other people can resonate with and be like, okay, you know, somebody miles and miles away is going through the same thing, and she's speaking out, and she's being vulnerable, and she's being compassionate, and she's being a leader in this field. What do you have to say to them that are going through, you know, the same struggles that you went through beforehand?
I think the first thing is look in the mirror and realize you need to tell yourself, hey, you know what, I'm worth getting better. I'm worth taking care of myself. And I would say the next thing is, if someone's in a department that maybe doesn't have the buy-in, or they don't have admin who really want to explore a peer support program, you can still help yourself and your peers. There are peer-reviewed articles. There are tons of resources like your program that provide education. You don't have to have a certificate to ask somebody, hey, you know, are you okay? You can make a difference. And like I said before, you may never see what you've done, but that simple, have a cup of coffee with somebody, take 5 minutes to have a conversation with that person on your truck who was being a jerk earlier, and just showing somebody that you care, it can do a lot. That could be the difference between someone going home and, you know, harming themselves, or someone being like, okay, and being all right. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to have a huge program, but you can educate yourself, and just having some compassion for your fellow, you know, for your peers can do a lot.
What you're saying is absolutely resonating with us, and I know it's going to resonate with the people watching and listening. So thank you for that. You are not off the hook yet, because we have something a little rapid fire. We have some rapid fire. Bree will take over, and she'll ask you the questions. Okay. The rule is you have to answer in one word or one phrase. One word or one phrase. This is the rule. You ready?
Does that include profanity? I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
Sure, yes.
If it calls for it, we'll allow it. So go ahead.
right.
Okay. What's your least favorite thing about Florida?
Bugs.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I've actually
Bugs.
never been to
Yep.
Florida, but I have heard that.
Big bugs.
Okay, number 2. Is there anything you're superstitious about?
Being a jerk and incurring bad karma.
Well,
Karma's
true. Yeah, that's real.
Karma.
It's real. Number 3. What is your favorite meal to make at the Firehouse?
Ooh. I like doing pasta with homemade sauce.
Ooh, okay. Secret ingredient in that sauce.
I'm sorry?
Secret ingredient in that sauce. Side question.
A little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of soy with everything else.
Okay.
Ooh.
Just a teeny tiny bit gives you that umami.
Okay.
We might have to get that recipe. Okay.
Works well for taco ground beef too.
Oh, all right. Okay, now this is a silly one. Are you ready? If you were a bird, would you steal people's shiny things or would you poop on their cars?
Steal shiny things.
I think we were both poop on the cars.
Yeah.
Okay, and last one. What is one word to describe your mental health journey?
Ongoing.
Ooh, I like that. That's awesome. Heather, just by reaching out to us, you're the first person. That's very dear to our heart.
Yeah.
Because when we saw that email, I was like, Bree, it's like 2 a.m. I was like, Bree, look. We got our first one. And so you will definitely hold a place in my heart and Bree's heart, and Zeph that is going to watch this and edit it over and over again. So you just have a very dear spot in our heart, and we really appreciate you coming on and being vulnerable and being courageous, just like those 15 seconds, that you took to have EAP call. So thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time out of your day on this beautiful weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know how it is
Thank
out
you guys
there.
for reaching out. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's overcast.
Yeah, no, we're beautiful right now. So
Hey, good for you.
thank you again so much, Heather. And this is Project Mayday. Call out.